Have you ever heard the saying, the way you climb matters as much as the view at the top? Today, we're sharing a story about love, sacrifice, and the heavy price of forgetting where you came from. This is the story of Esther and Dan. Let's get into it. 10 years ago, Esther and Dan had nothing but a shared dream. They lived in a tiny single-room apartment. Esther worked 2 jobs to pay for the rent, while Dan spent his nights coding in the house. When they couldn't afford dinner, they shared a single bowl of oatmeal. Esther was his rock, his cheerleader, and his greatest believer. She sacrificed her own savings so Dan could launch his startup. They were a team. Slowly things changed. The startup took off, money started pouring in, and suddenly they were living in a house that felt too big for the two of them. But as Dan's bank account grew, his personality started to shrink. He became obsessed with his status. He replaced his old friends with important people and began to view Esther's humble, quiet nature as a burden. Success acted like a poison. Dan stopped coming home for dinner. When he did, he didn't talk about their future anymore. He talked about his freedom. He began spending the weekends at parties surrounded by women of all caliber, the petite, the thick, the tall, the short, who only loved him for his money, not his soul. One day, he simply left. He didn't offer an apology or an explanation. He just traded the woman who helped him build his empire for the people who only loved him as a celebrity. Esther was left alone in that big empty house, broken-hearted. But here's where the story shifts. Esther didn't fall apart. She took the skills she had learned managing Dan's business to start her own business. She worked hard, stayed humble, and found happiness in her own independence. Years later, the news broke. Dan's business had collapsed. He had been reckless, trusting the wrong people. His party friends disappeared. And the moment the money stopped, he ended up alone, broke, and forgotten. One afternoon, Dan reached out to Esther, hoping for reconciliation. But Esther was no longer the girl in the tiny apartment who needed him to survive. She looked at him, not with anger, but with peace and realization he was a stranger. She didn't take him back. She walked away, finally free from the person who had never truly deserved her loyalty. Character always reveals itself in success. It's easy to be kind when broke, struggling, but the character is shown when you finally have it all. Don't build a kingdom with someone who doesn't value your sacrifice. It's beautiful, but it should be mutual. If you're doing all the giving and they're doing all the taking, you aren't a team, you're a stepping stone. Wake up. Your worth is not tied to someone else's status. Always realize that your value doesn't come from being the woman behind a successful man. It should come from your resilience and hard work. Integrity is the only real wealth. Money can be lost, but your reputation and how you treat others will follow you forever. Dan lost everything because he forgot the people who helped him succeed were the only people who cared about him truly. Sometimes the best ending isn't getting back what you lost. It's realizing you are better off without them. Thanks for listening. My name is Wia, and this is Unlocking Memories. Until next episode, guys, lock it. If you have a story you want me to air for you, please feel free to text me on the numbers on the screen. Text me on my social media handles. TikTok, it's Wia. Facebook, Wia Kenya. And my Instagram is Wia254. Thank you guys. If you want me to feature you on my show to give your story, please reach out. We meet in the next episode. Thank you for sticking by.